Guys, welcome back. Loudboy here. We are talking about video editing once again. My other videos are also available, but this one is about getting organized. The layers, adding graphics, adding audio, the inspector, transitions, effects, basic titles, and fading audio and video. This is the Loudboy Experience, and let's go. By default, right up here in the upper left-hand corner of the media pool says master. And think of that as your master play. That's where you started. That's the starting point. And I brought in 4 clips and we've created one timeline or one project from that. And that is called tutorial. These are the 4 clips that I brought in. However, if I want to bring in a bunch of photos, all right, stuff that maybe I've made in Photoshop, stuff that I have in my archives, I will create another folder for these. So what I'll do is you can actually right click in the black here. Okay, I'm right clicking right below these clips and I'm going to click on new bin. And I'll, just if I'm starting out, I'm going to call it Pix 1. Okay, real simple. It's my first picture folder, Pix 1. Now, in the upper left-hand corner, remember we started that starting point, the master. You will now have a Pix. You can click between them. See that? Or in master, you can double click on it to get. So this way I'm switching between folders, just like you do on a computer. That's all this is a file browser built into Davinci Resolve. So here we go. Now I'm going to import some media. I'm going to right click, import media. Let's just grab some old rush photos. If you're making shorts and you're working in a vertical space, okay, 1080 by 1920 by 1080, Davinci is beautiful for this work. And in another video, it's all going to be about working vertically. So guys, check that out. When I click on my Pix folder and double click on that, by default, for that specific image, and that's Alex Lifeson of Rush, for that image, it is 5 seconds long. But never fret that. So say if I want to put that on my timeline, I've just brought this in. Remember when we talked about OBS? I told you that OBS and Avid and Photoshop and all these apps, they see down through the layers. So if I have a layer, it's represented like vertically on my screen. I can see them sandwiched on top of each other. The program looks down through them. So whatever is on top is what it sees first. If I remove that, it sees what's underneath and so on. I can either go in here and do in and out points to choose how long I want it to be, or you can do a click and drag as well from the bin or from here. So for instance, I'm going to click, drag. What's going to happen is, did you see what happened? Look over here. See right here in the layers? Right now, V1, that's video 1, that's the first video layer, and right now I have 2 audio layers, A1 and A2. Audio goes down, video goes up. Now, since there's only 1 video layer, because I just have these regular clips on the timeline so far, I click, drag, and it automatically makes a second layer for me. That's really handy. I love that. Now, another way to do that, though, is right-click in the space to the right of here, right-click on that, and go Add Track. And I can keep doing that. I can keep adding video tracks, meaning I could have that many layers stacked up on my timeline. So I already have video 2 down. I'm going to click and drag. Now, remember last time we were doing zooming, I'm going to zoom in. Right now, if I mark that clip, it is 5 seconds on my timeline. Now, if I need more, okay, what if I need 7 seconds? What if I need an entire minute of this specific image? And by the way, let's give it a look at what this looks. So look at our viewer on the right over here, okay, where we can see the actual timeline playing back. It's going to play me on the screen, but as it plays through, it switches and that graphic goes up there. Notice how it's not filling the entire frame. All right, this graphic is square. The dark space, okay, in this image, right, in our clip viewer here, this dark space is actually, it's called a matte key, where that, whatever's black like that, typically you will see the layer below, which by the way, in this instance is nice. So first, let's make it longer. Okay, it's 5 seconds long. You have these little handles. If you park, okay, see where I'm putting my mark? If you park and see how it's giving me kind of that vertical sandwich looking thing, okay? If I click and hold down right there, I can make it as long as I want. So now I just stretched it to some and if I mark that, now I've made it 20 seconds and 22 frames. It tells me right up here. When I put in and out points on my timeline, it'll let me know how long it is between point in and point out in your timeline viewer. Right now, the entire sequence or the entire timeline is 4 minutes, 4 seconds, 20 frames. However, again, marking that clip right there, and for me, on my keyboard settings, it's a T, mark clip, boom. And I know that's 20 seconds. Now, if I need less, I can make that less. I can simply, you have these handles. What's even better is this. Now, say if I'm like, I didn't want that to start there. I wanted to start down here instead of here. And by the way, see, remember, it always magnetizes, kind of sucks to that place. All right, now, park your red line down the timeline right here. Click on this in the middle of it, okay? See how my pointer's right in the middle of the clip, not on the edges. Click, hold down, and I'm just dragging that anywhere I want. This is direct manipulation of your layers on the timeline. So say if I wanted to start here, okay, it snaps to that place like that. But I'm like, you know what? 20 seconds is too long. I'm gonna back that off some. When I click on that, remember we made it about 20 seconds long? I click on that, hold down. As I'm pulling back, it's telling us how much we are taking it back, if you will, how much we're reducing it right now. It's 1 second, 12 frames, and the total is, check that out. So I'm like, you know what? I need a little bit less off of that, or I'm doing it visually, or to whatever I'm saying on the timeline, and I might maybe park it right here where I can see. Remember the audio levels down here. I can see that I stopped talking there. There was a quick pause, and it stops. Now, what do we do? Right now, it's covering me, isn't it? Okay. Control F, full screen. Alex is covering up me. Don't like it. I want to talk about Alex, but I don't want to cover me. All right, let's fix that. If you click on the clip, okay, right now it's on V2, as you know. And by the way, when you're working in the layers, okay, especially right now, if I wanted to go work on layer 1 and manipulate that, you may not have to, but just my brain works this way. I want to make sure I activate that. This is how you activate tracks, by the way, over here. If I want to make this track muted, meaning not seen, you can click on disable track. See how Alex goes away? Okay. All right, so that's disabling it. This is activating them. This is also how you can click and hold down this V right here, and then I can patch that, if you will, to whatever layer I want to make an edit. Okay, let's get back to what we were talking about. We're talking about Alex covering me. Let's fix it. The easiest, most direct way to do it is click on that, okay? Again, remember how we clicked on the middle of it to slide it? Click on it, you see how it is highlighted red. There's a red line around it. Right here, you can click on this little square, okay? It's a transform button. This allows me to transform that object directly in the viewer space. So what I can do, you see, when I clicked on that, what happens? Do you see the white line appear around it? Like in OBS, remember we use those corners to make things bigger or crop or trim and stuff like that? Okay, same thing here. When you click on the transform button, boom, I got it. Meaning I can now manipulate that right here in the viewer without some kind of going into Fusion you can do it right here. Beautiful thing. So I'm going to click on it and I'm just going to move Alex over here. Oh, look at that. Love it. Now I can actually see me, but what if I want him smaller? Click the right-hand corner. All right, you guys have probably worked with images before. You know what happens when you grab the handles of an image. And I'm going to make him right here. Okay, that'll work. So now when I'm talking, with audio and video cables, I have an image on screen. We can see me, and now I'm showing you a graphic. I mean, this is old school news stuff, right? The over-the-shoulder graphic. It's been around since the dawn of TV time. We can do a lot more, though, here. Remember, it was really big at first, okay? When I imported that image, Resolve scaled it to the size, okay? Meaning, top to bottom, it became basically 1080 tall, okay? In my frame. Now, this is a little trick I've been doing lately. If I want to have him just as big as possible, okay? Control F, make the screen. I want him as big as, but I am still covered up. How do we handle that? This is how I do it. You can do it probably a couple of different ways. This is how I like to do it. Now, parking my red line at the beginning of that graphic, I come over and then go to the cut mode. Remember those at the bottom, how we can toggle over to cut mode? And I'm at the beginning of that graphic, okay? I'm going to use the splice clip button, the little scissors here. Done it. And now I'm going to scoot on down to the end of Alex. Okay. And I'm going to make sure right here, again, it's kind of magnetizing itself to the end. I'm going to hit split clip. Now, what I've done is I have now made a cut in the video below the graphic on top on video 1. I've spliced all the way through. See the lines now here? Now it'll still play smoothly, but there just happens to be a place in which it's divided. Okay. With this division, remember I talked about choosing the layers to then make changes to them. This is what I've been doing. Click on the bottom layer, V1. I now have the transform function for me. So Alex is massive, and I can scoot me over. Now we can both take up space in the 16 by 9 frame. And I do play, pause, magic. Play, pause, and I okay? I've simply just scooted me over. Now, this is not the best example. A lot of times, the example would be like this. This happens to be a perfect square, the Alex graphic. I'll go in now. Here's the second thing we can do to illustrate, because normally I'll have my graphics and they're more of this aspect ratio, right? Okay, they're more like a tall instead of a perfect square. Transform can also be, okay, that button up over here in your timeline viewer, you can go to crop. You have lots of different tools in here. So the two ones you'll use all the time are transform and crop, and then we can talk about other stuff later. This is crop. Now those points, instead of scaling it, I can now crop it. Now, I want more of a vertical thing. I don't want a perfect square because I'm kind of squeezed over here to the side, right? So now, since I'm in crop mode, I'm going to click on this right side, and I'm going to bring that in and maybe just leave a little bit of black for good measure. Boom. Okay, now what I'll do by default, I'll go right back to transform, get out of crop. Now I can move this around, and he's kind of more of a vertical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap that to the edge of my 16:9 screen, click on me on the bottom, and give me a little bit more space. It's my show. I want my graphics to be there for illustration. You might actually have an instance where you go and you think you're clicking on, I'm going to move yourself or me on screen. You are really moving the layer that's chosen on the timeline. You got to choose it on the timeline, guys. So Alex is there. I'm going to click on me, hiding Alex because I'm trying to get more. Okay, there. All right, snap. This is what it should look like. Now Alex is on screen. I'm going to go and click on Alex on the timeline, snap him to the left side, and then click on me and center me to my heart's desire. My sword, I'm going to leave that back in there. I have most of my rear television. Good. And let's press play. Audio and video cables. Now I am talking. I'm taking up. Not 2/3, but I'm taking up most of the frame. I have an illustrative graphic. Well, did you see that? That normally doesn't bother me. It's sort of like a jump cut. You guys know what a jump cut is? You see them all the time these days. They used to be so taboo, wherein if there's a cut and all of a sudden the next time someone's speaking, that's called a jump cut, right? Used to be completely taboo. The rules have changed some. I try to avoid them because I think like a film editor, and therefore I don't want that. I don't want like a max headroom approach to editing like a lot of people do on YouTube. Not knocking it, I'm just saying I don't care for it myself. So in this instance though, it's cool to edit. I connected the video camera. In this instance, I'll probably leave that. However, if I wanted to fade Alex on and off, okay, to make this illustration, I'm going to go and remember we can click on that image. I'm going to extend that over our little edit here. High school. So now Alex comes on. I shift over. That actually looks horrible. What I wanted to show you is this. Fading in graphics directly on the timeline. How do we do that? All right, using this Alex graphic for the example, when I click on it, okay, I'm clicking on it, highlighted red. See these little points up here? Okay, these little white points. If you click and hold down, I can now, what that's telling me is it's going to fade it in for 10 frames. If you want to do a full second, so it's about 30 frames, it's 1 second. So depending on what you like, what do you like? If you want it to come in quickly, go in and out slowly, it's up to you. Say if I choose in this instance, I'm going to use Chen. I'm going to click, hold down, pull to the left in this case, and do about 9 or 10 there, good enough. Now when I play it, I connected the video camera. Now when I play, you know what? Let's grab another graphic because I want to really illustrate this sucker. All right, using this one, you know, I just clicked and dragged that. Now I have the Getty over me. In this instance, by the way, let's go to transform, scoot Getty over, beautiful. And in this instance, again, click, hold down. I'm going to have it fade in over 15 frames, which is half a second since we're doing 30 frames a second. And press play. Okay, let's make that full screen. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to get rid of these fades. I want it just to be a cut there. So this is what we've done so far, that putting a graphic on and then scooting me over and adding the cut points. And then we'll see Getty play on screen. Let's just scoot him down some here. Get him a little bit closer. Beautiful. And we're going to press play, which is space bar. With audio and video. Back it up one more time. By the way, I do Control F to get into the full frame. Okay, if you really want to see what's happening, what you've built, and then escape to get out. So that's what I've been pressing, by the way. All right, Control F, spacebar to play. Connect to the video camera. All right, as you can see, graphic popped on. I popped to the right. That way, and I made some little movies in high school. I didn't truly learn. He's got, in this instance, see how that faded on. Until college. Watch, and then it fades out. Those are 15 frames up and down. Okay. That is how we put graphics on. That's how we fade them in and out. This also applies using those handles. Okay, that's what they are. Using these handles. By the way, I find this annoying, that the ability to do the transform. And right now, if I move that, I'd be moving that whatever's chosen down there. Get rid of it. Click on it. Deactivate it. Remember, we had the transform and the crop button. Okay. Now, at the beginning of the timeline, if you just want to maybe fade up from black, okay, typical, time tested and true, you can come down here. I'm going to zoom in slightly here. Remember our zoom function. And see, if I just get my pointer in that vicinity, the white little handle pops up. And in this case, let's fade it. I mean, for dramatic effect, let's bring me in nice and slow, okay? Let's do an entire second. Zooming out. So, and it actually gives you a visual representation here. See how this is kind of darkened? And there's kind of a diagonal line there. Okay, so pressing play at the beginning. So you want to make a video. Let's do that again. Full screen. So you want to make a video. That was 1 second up. If I want to make that longer, this is 4 seconds to fade from black all the way up. So you want to make a video. Why? No, seriously, why? And then now we're full. To do a real quick and dirty, you don't need to apply an effect. Since the dawn of time in Avid, I've been used to using fade effects and been using dissolves to achieve this kind of work. But now I just grab this handle like, what do I want? Let's do 10 this time. Done. I do love that very much, because in Avid, I'd have to apply it, tweak it to where I want. Do I want to start at the cut before the cut, centered on the cut? You know, where's that position? But more than that, I then have to render it. With this, I apply it, so press play, video. And it's 4 seconds up from black. No, seriously, why? If 4 seconds is redonkulous, I'll just back this up. Let's make that sucker. Let's do a second and a half. So that'd be what? 1:15. Okay, 15 is half a second. So you want to make a video, and that's 1:15 up. So all right, so that's how we can fade stuff on and off directly on our timeline. All right, let's just do it one more time. I'm going to grab, so of course, these are all Rush graphics. You know anything about me and my channel, kind of makes sense. All right, by the way, that was actually a good illustration. When I click and drag this directly from my bin, the Pix1 bin, this picture of Neil Peart on his drums, if I click and drag that to video 1, it will overwrite that section wherever I want it. You might want to do that. Great. For me, I always put it on V2. I want to be able to change it, manipulate it, fade it in and out, make it bigger or smaller or whatever at will, at my heart's desire, without it destroying my video below. So for me, I'm always adding them on top, knowing that the program will see that image and then it'll see my video before and after. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so in this instance, Control F to go full frame. No, seriously, why? All right, so you notice that this is not a full 16:9 graphic. Why do you want to? This is actually a beautiful example. I want this image of Neil to cover me. So say if I'm talking about Neil in this section and I want to show pictures of him as part of my video. Okay. So now actually just looking at those audio levels down here, you can see the pause points. I can now take any image I bring into Resolve and scale it. You've already seen me scale, all right, and crop Alex some, right? The square, but this is generally it's wider, right? And now I want to do the full frame and not show the left and right pockets of my office. I don't want to, I just want him. How do we do it? This is how. In this main viewer, you see where it says 35%. As you scale the software, and you can make the software bigger and smaller at will, okay? There's little things that pop up, as you can see that. All right, see how I'm making that bigger? Okay. I make this maybe down to 25 or 12. Here's why. With this, I'm now seeing this blank void around the video screen, okay? It's still going to play. Ask yourself. It's still playing there. You can watch. You can see me talking, but it's just small. With that, though, when we are parked on and clicking on the Neil Peart image that's over me, I'm going to click and I'm going to snap this out. If I go full screen, it's now the entire frame. I'm not showing the office beneath. So in my video, it's exactly what I wanted. I'm talking about Neil Peart. Let's make that fit again. Done. I'm talking about it, and instead of being just part of the screen covered, I'm getting full screen covered. Ask yourself that why. Okay. Back it up. Full. Press play on it. No, seriously, why? Okay. Without that move, what we just did, see that? So now that's kind of ridiculous, right? Watch. Why? No, seriously. Don't like it. I don't want just like part of my arm moving over here, right? No. So instead of that, again, what do? We just, you can do it here. You can do a little, hold on, do a little snap, center that up. And as long as you're covering yourself, remember, it's on top of you. Covering all of that, Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. All right, full screen, press play. No, seriously, why? Done. I want to check the parameters of that image. Okay, I do have a little bit more. Okay, when I made it bigger, I noticed, okay, always be looking. Okay, go full frame. I'm missing the top part of his drumstick and part of his fingers, aren't I? That bothers me. I want you to see and experience exactly what I want you to see and experience. In this case, him twirling a stick, love it. So I'm going to click, I'm in transform mode, pull down. Don't want to go that far, right? Because I'm seeing, okay, so snap that to the top, full frame, done. That's now, now I don't see rush. Okay, but we'll make some compromises here. Just adjusting my timeline so we have the best of both worlds here. That's good enough. There we go. You can over here, by the way, with your timeline view, as you add more layers and stuff, a lot of times you'll have to scroll over on the right, up and down to see them all, or you can expand that timeline. And, if you only have maybe 3 video layers, 2 audio layers, you can fit them all in here nicely and see them all at once. Often, I'll have minimum 5, if not up to 7 layers, where I've added titles and different things and objects on the screen. Well, in that case, I do have to go up and like, where was that? Oh yeah, that's on layer 4. And I'll go and manipulate layer 4. So, but in this case, that's what I was doing. I was rescaling what I can see down here on the timeline. It's all there when you want it. Now, I don't want to cut to this image over me, the Neil Peart. I want to fade it between me and him, okay? Right now, it's a cut. Saw that? Remember our little handles? I'm going to pull that in. 21 sounds great to me. And go full frame, press play. No, seriously, why? Okay. It goes 21 frames, and I think it was like 12 or 13 down. Why do you want to learn how to make videos? What do you want to do with it? Who do you want to reach? What do you want to talk about? All right, this is longer than I thought it was. There we go. All right. Direct timeline manipulation, adding graphics on a second layer, fading them in and out. We've done the transforming of them, the cropping of them, and I also showed you that trick to where, again, you've got a side graphic, put your splices to line up with that, and then you can bump whatever it is on the bottom, to the right or left and so on, keeping yourself or whoever it is centered. And that's why, again, I was doing it. All right, if I hadn't have done that, I would have been either covered up or whatever. But in this case, I'm centered and I've got a big, beautiful graphic there as well. To bring in audio, I'm going to right click in the black space here, go to import media. In my case, I do, of course, like anyone, have a music folder. This song I've used for a lot of my videos. It's almost sort of like a theme song. All right, so when I imported this audio, it shows up, and of course it doesn't have an image, it's audio, and it looks like that. And any clip in your timeline, you can pull. I'm not clicking on anything, I'm just pulling back and forth and so on. Okay. Now, when I double click on that, one thing I didn't show you last time was this. Right now, we're in audio view. Okay. I can do this with video as well. Go back to master, pull up one of my clips. It says source. Okay. It's showing me the source. It's showing me the image, and I'll hear the audio for this video, the source. Now, when I click on that, I can actually pull down to audio track. That is just the audio for me talking. Connected. I don't want to see it. I'm going to click on that. Okay, just the audio. Of course, when we bring up audio, in this case, that's what we get. So if you're ever confused and you've worked with audio, but then you know there's a video clip in there, but you only see that, like, where's my picture? Where's my picture? Make sure you don't see this little audio squiggly line representing audio track. Go and click on source, and you'll see the source. Okay, do double check that nothing's gone wrong. You're just happening to be looking at something else. Okay, so I can manipulate audio here. I do love, though, the big, bold, beautiful view of the cut mode. Remember our modes at the bottom. I'm in cut mode. Double clicking on the audio, I get this big picture. Okay, I can see that this section is kind of a quiet ramp up to the very loud section. The lower parts of the green means that it has less volume or less audio, and then the higher parts is just a more loud. Okay, so actually by default, I know where this is. I believe it's right there. I've used it so many times. Using my jog shuttle, I'm going to put an endpoint there. Done. So again, I have a macro view of my timeline. And then if I really want to zone in and get closer to it, it's just like before in our last video. Click on the jog shuttle, and now I can see frame after frame, second after second, and up close, maintaining a bigger picture above it. I do love this mode for doing that in and out points, or starting at just an endpoint for audio. I love this mode. And then what I'll do is I'll go back to edit mode, knowing I've put that endpoint in there. Down here on my timeline, my video has 2 channels of audio with it. Okay, you can see them, A1 and A2, green 1 and green 2, that go with the video above. And that's why you can hear me talking. However, I want to add audio now, meaning I want to add music or any audio. It could be Foley and sound effects, whatever it might be, voiceover, whatever you need to add more audio. Okay, coming down here, right click in this audio section, right below this dividing line of video and audio, and then do add track. And then you can click on adding. And by the way, there's more than just stereo. Look at that, 7 point, all right, for surround. But if I click on stereo, I've added a stereo track. Way over here on the right, I can pull down and I can actually see that third video audio track down there. Now, what I need to do at this point, however, remember I added that endpoint back there in the cut mode. Okay, there we go. I added that endpoint there. Now, I'm going to park my red line, my indicator line on my timeline back here at the beginning. Now, I want to add, remember I set that endpoint, okay, on the song. I want to have that start at the very beginning and end with this video. That's all I want to do. However, if I hit the edit button right now, it's going to do this. See what it did there? Control Z to undo. It overwrote that entire me talking on one of the channels. It just wrote right, because right now A1 is patched to A1. All right, again, you guys, if you know basic editing, you know this much. But for those of you who don't, there you go. Now what I did just now is I hold down on this little blue. That's your source. My music now needs to be, I need to tell it to go here, here, or here. All right, so what I do is I draw a line. This is the music, A1 out here. A1 out here, I need to go down to A3. So it was up here. I click, hold down, or just drag it down. And now A1, this is the music, which is coming from here. Okay, the music that we set an endpoint for. will go directly into A3 now. But however, I probably have, yeah, there's almost 3 minutes. This tells me there's 3 minutes. My timeline is not, how long is my, or maybe it is, okay, I did have more. The timeline's actually longer than the song. So this will work. However, let's do something here. We are going to make this timeline shorter. I'm going to make a cut, and I'm going to get rid of all this. I'm selecting and I'll hit delete, done. Now my timeline's only 2 minutes long. Okay. All right, again, I used the cut mode with the scissors, and I just selected them all, and bye. Now we're 2 minutes long, okay? The entire timeline. If I hit the edit point right now, check it out. It's longer. So I'm talking, but that song will keep playing. There's 2 ways we can do this. One way is you can click and drag, just like we did that image on the second video channel, on second layer with the images that we put on top of the video. I can click and drag, make that shorter, boom. Now it is the correct length, and the music will stop at the end. If that's as simple as you want to do things, that's as simple as you can do it. It's done. If I want that music to only go to here, all right, before like the midpoint of it, for whatever reason, I put an out point there. Endpoint's already set. Okay, so it's going to go beginning up until this point, hit the edit button, done. Okay, again, this is simple, basic editing, but I wanted to show you how to add that audio track. Now, that audio, you can see how thick the white line is down here. There is a thin white line that you guys see it there, and see these arrows pop up when I kind of hover my cursor over it. If I click and hold down, I can increase and decrease that by 5 decibel. Okay, I can go 5, 10, 15, 5 down, 15, meaning less or more. So directly on the timeline, this is very cool. Click, hold down, I can make that -5, and I've already lowered how loud the music is. On the timeline, if you just need to knock something down some, for whatever reason, click, hold down, you see I'm reducing 5, 10, 15, 20 decibels. Remember the little handles where we faded the graphics and video on and off? Same goes for audio. If I want to fade that music on, I can now fade that out. Now take a listen. So you want to make a video. Why? The music will just slowly fade in. Ask yourself that, why? Let's fade it in. I'll zoom in so I can get a nice good look at it. I will fade that out. Typically 10-ish. Okay, just a quick, so it's not abrupt. All right? Whether I'm stopping music in the middle of a video or at the end, I don't want it just to be in the middle of a thought, right? And therefore, I want to fade that thought out. So how do we do that? Again, we can grab the handle, pull that back to X amount of frames that you want. If I want to fade that out over about 1 second, I can press that, and it fades out. Let's add a couple transitions, okay? A fade or a blur or just, a cross dissolve. Park here, all right? Now remember, we have a cut right here between 2 different clips of me talking. I started playing around with it, okay? If I want to add a transition to that, this is one we haven't done yet. By the way, I need to switch this back to source. Done. I'm going to click on the effects button. Remember our media tool button? Okay, where all our clips and our bins and our folders are. Click on effects. Now, by default, you'll have these categories on the left here. Okay. Video transitions, audio transitions. As you click on each one, each category then shows up. Titles, which we're going to talk about next time, and more. Let's just do a simple video transition. Cross dissolve. That's a real simple blending of the 2 in and out of 2 different images or video or whatever. So I'm going to click, hold down. You can sometimes do a double click. And see that? How I put this little semi-transparent box with a diagonal line right there? That is now pressing full screen. I started playing. See how it faded between the 2? If you're zoomed in enough, you can actually grab this sucker and make it longer. I like that. Direct timeline manipulation. Anyway, yeah, it's true though. Now check it out. Now, full screen. I started playing around with it. So really slowly it fades between the 2. I would never do this in a real video, fade it like that. It looks weird, but I'm just showing you that this is how you do it. There's also, this is a groovy little thing that they have. Again, if you zoom into this point as close as you can and just double click on it and it puts it there. Okay. Control Z to undo. Oh, okay, delete. Now blur dissolve, double click, it added it. Okay. You saw the second when I double click on that, it added a blur, full screen. I started playing and there's a blur dissolve. Okay. I dig the blur dissolve. I actually use it quite a bit. There's a lot more. There's different wipes and transitions. For instance, if I just want to do an oval. Okay. See that if I'm in the middle of it, you can see this. You can see this oval or a circle take place. Okay. Instead of that, oh, there's you can do a clock wipe. I mean, you can see all the different categories here. Okay. Play around to your heart's content. There's a bunch of different wipes, transitions, dissolves. The two that I use most of the time, of course, is a cross dissolve or fade up from color or the blur dissolve. Those are acceptable. Anything else, as the moment arises, you never know what an edit will bring you, what kind of creative idea you might come up with. In that case, you've got them there if and when you want them. And that's how I look at them. Other than that, I might use two. All right. And most of the time, just that, just the transition, the cross dissolve. Now, one thing so say I add that, okay? Let's zoom into that cut point, double click, add a cross dissolve, done. However, let's go to audio transitions. And now I'm just double clicked on that and it's putting audio transitions, meaning now it's going to blend the audio between the cut as well. All of these you can position where you want them, and all of these you can make them longer or shorter than they are. And the crossfade for audio has a plus and minus -3. Most of the time 0 is fine. So now as it cross dissolves between these two video clips, it will also, and back it up one more time. Let's mute the what do you call it? By the way, that's the mute button on each of these audio tracks. I'm muting the music. So let's back it up and let's go. I started playing. So now I started playing around, cross dissolving both audio and video. That's where you find them. Effects button up here, video transitions, audio transitions. Those are the basics of that. And of course, next time we will talk about titling. More in depth of doing all these different effects work. Okay, so we're going to work on effects. We're going to work in Fusion. We're going to work on titles next time. Man, I appreciate you being here. I'm on TikTok and YouTube and Rumble, the Loudboy Experience. I thank you for being here. Join me next time. Check out my other video production videos. You guys have a good night.